Let me tell y'all something you probably already know. Social media can really be a trip. Here's a question though, is it really a rap beef if there's no diss tracks going back and forth? I mean, they're still rappers, right? Personally, I prefer when they get to putting out diss tracks, but people are going to have issues with one another regardless of whether or not it's on wax. Humans are social creatures after all, but that doesn't mean that we'll always get along. Lupe Fiasco and Kid Cudi are two of my favorite artists of all time, for very different reasons. Lupe is known as being a conscious rapper, and Cudi for being what some would consider an emo rapper. If anything, you could say he helped pioneer a resurgence of rap outside of the gangsta or trap subgenres that were so popular. Of course, he gets influence from Ye, which also Lupe shares a connection with, as Ye is the one who put Lupe on the hit single Touch the Sky from his second album, Late Registration. According to a 2015 interview Lupe had with Sway Calloway, he met Cudi when Cudi was working in a babe store in Soho. Lupe liked his music and was a supporter.
I met Cudi when he worked at the babe store here in Soho, and he was a good dude. I loved his music, and I just got a love for dude.
This was also confirmed by Cudi himself in a Complex interview he had in 2010. When asked about who was there for him when he was going through things like getting arrested, he stated that Lupe is one of the only people besides his family that reached out to him. So yeah, you would think things would be cool between the two, but unfortunately not. This beef goes back to an August 2014 tweet by Lupe Fiasco where he was offering to write personalized verses for his fans for $500. Kid Cudi tweeted Lupe in return, questioning what he was gonna do with the money, like donating it to a charity perhaps. The long-standing Twitter beef between these two greats was on from then. Lupe responded back asking him if he was going to be doing the same with the sneakers that Cudi released with Giuseppe. Cudi also posted a tweet telling his fans to support Lupe's album, but that the verse thing seems sketchy. The fans of course chimed in backing either side, but fortunately things stayed on Twitter rather than getting physical. However, things didn't get on wax either. Then a few months later in January 2015, the beef heated back up. Kendrick Lamar had a statement about Michael Brown, an 18-year-old black male who was killed a few months prior by police in Ferguson, Missouri. Kendrick Lamar had the following statement about police and the African American community. "I wish somebody would look in our neighborhood knowing that it's already a situation, mentally, where it's effed up. What happened to Michael Brown should have never happened, never, but when we don't have respect for ourselves, how do we expect them to respect us? It starts from within. Don't start with just a rally. Don't start from looting. It starts from within." Rappers like Azealia Banks and Kid Cudi had then chimed in on Kendrick's statement. Azealia, for example, with a tweet saying that's the dumbest thing she's heard a black man say, as well as, "The black community will never be able to fix itself so long as we're living within white means and by white devices." Lupe and Azealia then traded tweets back and forth. For example, Azealia telling Lupe that he's only known for his former connection to Kanye, which seems to be a reference to Lupe being on the Touch the Sky song that I mentioned previously. Or it may be a reference to the group that Ye, Pharrell, and Lupe were in called Child Rebel Soldier. One of the best comebacks in this whole situation, however, is Lupe finding an old tweet from Azealia where she stated that she used to steal Lupe's flows. Yet another example of dissing someone you clearly were inspired by. Kid Cudi responded with a tweet of his own talking about black artists speaking down on the black community, to which Lupe responded telling Cudi that he's fake. This had essentially reheated the situation between Lupe and Cudi and had them going back and forth again. Lupe sent out a tweet in response to Cudi's, telling Cudi to shut up, and sent out a series of tweets like, "Niggas being valid because they don't really mean what they say. I hate niggas that are disloyal at their core, then flex like they Gandhi," and responded to some other people on Twitter who questioned the situation by explaining that it started because Cudi called him a swindler. Shortly after this Twitter brawl, Lupe had the interview on Shade 45 that I've referenced earlier, in which Sway asked about his beef with Cudi and Azealia. Lupe explained to Sway the backstory of his beef with Cudi, stating that he was a supporter of Cudi's when he was going through his drug addiction and his rise to fame. He also stated that he hasn't been able to get in contact with Cudi for 6 months and he'd like to talk to him and settle things, otherwise it'll have to get physical.
And I know that certain people, when they get fame really quick, it'll tear you apart. It'll fuck you up. And it's good to kind of have people, even if we not gonna eat dinner together every night and do no shit like that, but I genuinely fuck with you. I'm a real nigga, and when I fuck with you, I fuck with you. And Barry's right there, my right hand to God. The first person I call Barry, I say, yo, give me this bitch ass nigga Cudi number. If I see him, I'm knocking him the fuck out. Cause I want to get to the bottom of what the fuck you talking about. Because it's me. The same nigga you went in Complex and was like one of the only niggas who reached out to me genuinely and had love for me was Lupe, but now I'm some fucking thief. Now I can't find you. Right? Nobody knows who you are. Right? And then you come back with trying to tell niggas how to act and operate themselves in the business. Nigga, shut the fuck up. Because I couldn't find you. I've been trying to find you for 6 months.
So that's why you responded to that other thing.
Yeah, like, nigga, get the fuck out of here.
Threats of violence, but still not a diss track in sight. Then the next year, in October 2016, when Drake and Cudi were beefing, and Drake dropped the track Two Birds, One Stone, taking shots at Cudi and Pusha T, the Twitter beef was once again reignited. Around this time, Cudi went to rehab for depression and suicidal urges, and he responded to Drake's diss by tweeting Drake to say it to his face and that he'd be out of rehab soon. Lupe, having his lingering issue with Cudi, sent out several tweets once again, like the following. Man, F that nigga, what part of rehab is calling people pussies and asking for fades? Rehab is checking your own problems, not this shit. So yeah, clearly this is something that wasn't just gonna go away for Lupe. Not that I blame him. The amount of people I've been there for has had me feeling that similar way before. Some of the fans of these two artists have really gotten involved in the situations that played out on Twitter. I've been on platforms like Reddit, Discord, and the like where they defend their respective artists and diss the other. Now myself, I'm a bit more objective when it comes to this, and I'm not a blind fan. Despite them both being among my favorite artists, I have my own opinions about the situation, which I will get to shortly. You know what's a bit ironic in all of this? By September 2021, Drake released his album Certified Lover Boy, which features the track I Am Y2, featuring Kid Cudi. So it would seem that Drake and Cudi squashed their beef before Lupe and Cudi. Around the release of the album, apparently some people wondered what Lupe thought about Cudi appearing on the song of Drake. Someone tweeted out asking Lupe if he would be skipping Cudi's feature, to which Lupe replied, F Cudi for life. A simple enough statement and clearly one Lupe has stuck to for several years at this point. The Lupe tweets continued on in February 2022 when Cudi and Ye were having a falling out over the whole Pete Davidson situation, or as Ye would say, Skeet Davidson. Lupe tweeted out, I told y'all about this nigga, in reference to Cudi calling Ye a dinosaur after Ye announced that Cudi won't be on Donda 2 because of Cudi still being friends with Pete Davidson. Then that next month in March, the infamous slap heard around the world occurred at the Oscars.
I'm out here. Richard. Oh, wow. Wow. Will Smith just smacked the shit out of me.
Will Smith slapped Chris Rock for a joke Chris made about Will's wife Jada. This caused an uproar online and many chimed in on the situation. One of those being Lupe, saying that he hopes that they can find some time to reconcile and come to terms with things, but it's still F Cudi for life. As you can imagine, that led to more fans on Twitter commenting on the situation, to which Lupe again expressed his dislike for Cudi because of the whole issue going back to the personalized verses. After all this, you might think that it was finally done, but no, not yet actually. In December that year, Lupe responded to the following tweet that was directed at him. We see some of the young guys saying stop the violence and squashing beef that had bloodshed. You and Cudi possible somewhere down the line next? Lupe's response tweet has been deleted since then, but he basically said the usual. F Cudi for life. Another Twitter user saw Lupe's response and replied by saying, man, Cudi really hated by almost everyone it seems. Lupe once again took it upon himself to go give Twitter his feelings about Cudi with the following tweet. Outside of his musical genius, fame, and success, Cudi is a really sneaky punk bitch-ass bitch. It's not even controversial or spicy of a take. His personal resume outside the spotlight is trash. So yeah, it's pretty clear to see that Lupe is not ready to give up his beef of Cudi, and Cudi hasn't done much responding in public since their 2015 incident. Now I'll give you my thoughts on this beef. As I said in the beginning, these are two of my favorite artists. As far as Cudi goes, he seems to have let the back and forth go, at least in public. However, I don't think making that whole tweet questioning Lupe in public was a good look, especially if he meant what he said in that complex interview about Lupe being one of the few people in the industry that was supportive of him. In Lupe's situation, I might feel the same way. I do think that Lupe has been keeping it going on for a little bit too long though. He's been keeping true to his word of F Cudi for life. Gotta stand for something though, am I right? This is a conflict that could have probably been resolved if Cudi just reached out to Lupe privately, or if he reached back out to Lupe when Lupe was saying that he's been trying to get in contact with Cudi for months and had no answer. Of course, we don't know what goes on behind closed doors, but these tweets speak for themselves. What do you think? Should these two have put out diss tracks? Should Lupe have just let it go? Is Cudi really fake for that tweet? Or do you think that something happened before all of this that we just don't know about? I think they should make up somehow. At this point, it's been almost a decade. That's all for now though. If you want to see another video like this, make sure to click that like button, and while you're at it, check out the previous video I did about a Lupe Fiasco rap beef. It went way past just some tweets.